Welcome back, Nick Lenz, Comic Corner, Classic, Non-Classic. This is episode number 1097, Doubleshot number 991. Yeah, 9 videos to the 1000 Doubleshot, and 3 more until I reach episode 1100. Yep, I got 2 Marvel trades. First up is kind of an old one, though it's basically a classic book. This is Deadpool Classic Volume 1, collecting Deadpool's first appearance from News number 98. His first 2 miniseries, which is Deadpool, The Circle Chase, its follow-up, the original Deadpool book, and the first issue of the ongoing series. Of course, now, you can tell by the cover. Who is this artist who does this cover? Why, it's Rob Liefeld. Yep, this is his artwork. Yep. Also, for some strange reason, if you're familiar with basically Deadpool's design, like recently, like, he's more keen to... Let's see if I can find the cover here for this one. Yeah, this style out right here. Yeah, this is kind of more keen to basically what it kind of looks like nowadays. Plus, I don't know if anybody notices the guards, like his swords, have got guards on them, and they're freaking huge. No idea why they are like that. Oh, look at this. His hilts, his guards on this cover here are completely different. Liefeld. Yep, there's Liefeld for you. Yep. Now, Fame the Season, Rob Liefeld do the original first appearance. The first miniseries is done by Fame the Season, obviously. Yeah, he actually writes that miniseries too. And Joe Manara does the artwork. The second miniseries was referred to as Since the Past. That is written by Mark Waid. Artwork is done by Ian Churchill, Lee Weeks, and Ken Lashley. The first issue of Deadpool ongoing series done by Joe Kelly and McGinnis. Now you're probably thinking, wait, Joe Kelly and McGinnis, weren't these two also the original creative team behind Spider-Man Deadpool? Yes, they are. This is a book to heat up with. Yep. Now, from what I've heard basically about the origin of Deadpool is that he's a ripoff of Deathstroke the Terminator from DC Comics. His mask is basically inspired by Spider-Man. And apparently, Liefeld probably had a thing for ninjas. I don't know. That part, basically, I made it myself, but the first two, basically, I said, that's completely true because Liefeld has admitted publicly Deadpool is a ripoff of Deathstroke. Yep. That's what this character is. And the interesting thing about issue 98, it's actually part 1 of a 3-part story that will lead to the relaunch of, basically related to New Mutants relaunched as X-Force. Which, by the way, second issue of that series was Deadpool's second ever appearance. And if you read Deadpool in the first appearance, you're like, okay, if this is Deadpool, like, okay, I get the signature attire, but now you're probably thinking, okay, why are the speech bubbles yellow? Well, that actually did come to play. Like, here's a good close-up of basically a speech bubble right here. Yeah, these are Deadpool's speech bubbles. Yeah, Deadpool has got a reputation for having yellow speech bubbles. And those, from what I've heard, done a little research about this, the first appearance of the yellow speech bubbles did come to X-Force number 2. And that was Nasiza's idea. Yeah, I spoke to Nasiza about it, like, because I figured, though, he created Deadpool, and he did tell me this, that the whole thing with him having a speech was, who came with that concept for Deadpool? That was Nasiza. He did that. Basically, Liefeld came with design and the name, but basically, Nasiza also credited for creating him, too. Yep. The New Mutants special, just his first appearance, and just him, like, basically be a reason why the Mutants get reborn as X-Force. And they're hired by a guy named Mr. Traveler who basically revealed to be dead. The first miniseries has Deadpool take on the Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy and start a romance with Siren. If you don't know who Siren is, she is the daughter of former X-Men character. Well, currently he's deceased now. He got killed off back in Deadly Genesis number 1. Yeah, Brubaker killed him off. Yeah, she later became she's currently the mythological Banshee. Yeah. Sean Cassidy, the original Banshee, and she basically was briefly Banshee for a certain period of time after his death until she became the Banshee of Irish myth. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and she also had a relationship with Jamie Mandrix, aka Multiple Man. Yeah, but Deadpool was kind of her first boyfriend. And no, these two never had kids together. Also, issue 90 is also noteworthy first appearance of Domino. But here's kind of the strange thing about this particular first appearance of this Domino. This is not Domino. Not the Domino people know and love. This is actually Vanessa. You were thinking Vanessa. So you mean the character played by in the movie? Yeah, this one was also was Copycat. Yeah, in the movie she never took on this look at all because, well, I don't think that they could afford this. Yeah. And also, basically, Deadpool also takes on his first miniseries. Aside from Juggernaut and frickin' besides the Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy, he also takes on Garrison Kane, aka Weapon X. No, he's not Wolverine. Here is Vanessa, aka Copycat. White hair, blue skin. You're probably thinking, is this woman a Kree? Or is she a freaking vampire? No, this is her normal appearance. And as far as I know, she's still alive. She did briefly date Deadpool. She was actually Deadpool's first girlfriend. For Syra, Deadpool was her first boyfriend. Now, since the past, which was the second miniseries, that is simply a follow-up to this one. Yeah, and by the way, these two miniseries are counted as part of Deadpool numbering when it hit 300 about a couple years ago. Yep. And of course, the first issue is to put pretty much what people know about Deadpool. First appearance of Weasel, Blind Owl, his trademark costume, the costume he wear up until recently, which I don't think he's ever changed. And he takes on Sasquatch. Yeah, it's a good start for the series. And in case you're wondering, does Siren show up in the first issue? No, she doesn't. Here's the cover for the first issue. Now, in case you're wondering about the font, yes, from what I can tell, for like the style, basically was like a first collector's issue. Yes, despite the fact this came out in 1987, this is late 1990s like style, basically when they released books. Yeah, when I was reading comic books, not basically comic 90s, basically comics I have read, a lot of the covers basically look like that. So that's nothing unusual. And it's something though that this book, despite being only $30, contains only 1, 5, 9, only 10 issues. So it's the first trade for Deadpool Classic, and you charge $30 for it. You know how much I pay for this thing? Well, I pay $30 for it. Yeah, but why $30 for 10 issues? That makes no freaking sense. Maybe because it's Deadpool. I don't know. And in case you're wondering, no, not the first one. Basically, I've also reviewed volumes I think it's 22, 26, I think it was. Yeah, for good start of this book, a 9.5 out of 10. Really good artwork by a lot of the artists. Liefeld, I think when he draws Deadpool, he does a really good job drawing him. Not a lot of other characters, but I think he does a good job on drawing Deadpool himself. Next up is the Reese book from Marvel Legacy. This is Spirits of Vengeance. War at the Gates of Hell. Yep, the Spirits of Vengeance. Actually, in the cover is the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider, Blade the Vampire Hunter, Damian Hellstrom, and his smoking hot sister Santana. Now, you probably think, okay, now, do these characters have history with each other? Yes, they do. Ghost Rider's got history with Damian Hellstrom, stretching far back to Damian's first appearance back in the first issue of the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider comic book, released back in the 1970s. Santana he has a little bit of history with, maybe due to the connection to their brother. Now, Blade. Now, this is quite interesting. Johnny Blaze first met Blade in the 1990s during the whole Midnight Sun stuff. Speaking of Midnight Suns, Spirits of Vengeance, Rise of Midnight Suns. Yep. And yeah, but what about now? Of course, Damian Santana, Burns' sister. Now, what about Blade and Damian Hellstrom? Well, despite the fact these two were in actual books in the 90s, these two never really interacted with each other. Not that I could think of, no. Not prior to this miniseries. They probably knew about each other, but they never really interacted with each other. What's the whole story of this miniseries? Apparently, now these four came together to basically Yeah, apparently they got their hands on the 30 pieces of silver that Judas Iscariot used when he was paid to betray Jesus Christ. I'm not kidding about this. This is the first time I can think of. Marvel's dealt with that. I know DC's dealt with it, thanks, of course, to their reinterpretation of Faith Strange being Judas as freaking Iscariot. A man who's basically a traitor, and he also committed suicide. Yeah, the man committed suicide. And yeah, and basically I have like angels pop up in here. It's a quick little mini series, and this is written by Victor Gasher, which is actually the first book I've seen write since he did his brief run. He did his pretty good run he did for X-Men Volume 4. Was it 4? No, it was 3. Yeah, it was 3. The one that launched after the events of Second Coming. Yeah, he was the first writer for that when it was Team Up Book. And Team Up Book, what this is. Surprisingly, no. After this, now you probably think, okay, after this miniseries wrapped up, what happened to these characters? Well, Damian died. He's currently dead. Blade is in limbo. I think he's part of Strike Force now. Johnny Blaze currently has an ongoing series, and he's the King of Hell. Santana herself hasn't done all that much since this miniseries. This only came out roughly 2 years ago, and she really hasn't done that very much at all. Yeah, she's done pretty much nothing since this miniseries wrapped up. Yep. By the way, what did Spirit's Vengeance do with the 30-piece silver? Nothing. Because I'll follow up this one. It's a pretty good, quiet little miniseries. It doesn't really affect anything at all. But I like the fact they revived the Spirit's Adventures title. Which, in fact, is an old title from the 90s, where it was a team up series between Johnny Blaze and Dan Ketch, his half-brother. Surprisingly, Dan Ketch does not appear in this miniseries. Yeah. Oh, in case you're wondering who's leading this team, they don't really say. It could be Ghost Rider, it could be Blade. Yeah, they just basically just a common line. They just basically come together because of this. But not a lot of stuff to say about this miniseries. Otherwise, it just that it's actually pretty good. Yeah, and the artwork in here is done by David Bolden, which I think the man is actually. I think this person is actually a pretty good artist. If you're curious to how he draws the Ghost Rider, when he first shows up, he looks like this. I'm like, what the heck? Yep. But I'm going to give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Pretty good book. Okay, so that's it for this particular review. I might have one more review coming today. That'll be another part for you to watch up. Maybe. If not, I'll do it tomorrow. Okay? See you next video. Bye.